Good evening.
Good evening.
The January 21st, 2020 meeting of the Cumberland County Commissioners will now come to order. At this time, I'd like to call on Commissioner Glenn Adams for introduction of our guest to bring our invocation and pledge of allegiance, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bringing our invocation tonight is Pastor Michael Wood. Oh, okay. I'll wait for Commissioner Evans. All right.
Commissioner Evans is calling in, and Commissioner Booth could not be present tonight, so we're a little short. But anyway, Commissioner Evans, are you there? Commissioner Evans, are you there?
We can hear him.
Commissioner Evans, can you hear the board chair?
Very, no, not that well.
That's because you talk low.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to introduce Pastor Michael Woods, who is the pastor of Smith Chapel Free Will Baptist Church. He has a bachelor's degree from St. Augustine in Raleigh and a master's in divinity from Liberty University. He's the proud parent of 2 sons and his wife, Nicole Woods. Bringing our Pledge of Allegiance this evening is Miss Marcy Williams, little Miss E.E. Smith. Her parents are Lamont and Mary Henson. Her grandmother is Alice Whitfield. Her great-grandmother, who's watching on TV along with Miss Whitfield, is Mary Pickens, and her aunt is Judge Tiffany Whitfield. I would like to call upon Pastor Michael Woods to bring us our invocation. If we'd all stand, please. Oh, and you know, sometimes I'm just a little bit off, but this is my pastor from Smith Chapel Free Will Baptist Church. New to the community, just got here. We're breaking him in right.
Will you bow your head as I pray? Dear wise and loving Father, first let me say thank you on behalf of all who are gathered here today. Thank you for your many and abundant blessings. Thank you for life itself, for the measure of health we need to fulfill our callings, for sustenance and our friendship. Thank you for the ability to be involved in useful work and for the honor of bearing appropriate responsibilities. In the scriptures you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council of county commissioners. I'm asking that you graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of our people, a keen thirst for justice and righteousness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. We invoke your presence in this place today, and I pray for the agenda set before the commissioners in Jesus' name. Amen.
Now y'all see why he's my pastor, right?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Woods. Each one of them to come up individually to get our picture. Whichever one wants to come first. Normal. We're doing one at a time.
Oh, I got a stool.
Uh-oh, there you go.
One more. 1, 2, 3. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Adams, and thank you, dear guests, for making our meeting very special tonight with your presence. At this time, are there any members of any of our appointed boards here tonight? If they are, please stand and be recognized, or any other elected officials. Okay, seeing none, it's too cold tonight.
Marshall,
Yes.
speak a little bit. I don't think anybody can hear you. I don't know if your microphone is whatever, but it's hard to very hear you, even over here on this end.
Should I take the
Just pick up a little bit.
wind off? Okay. I can't get any closer to it. My neck will be sore. At this time, we've got some members of the Fayetteville Cumberland Youth Council. Our representatives, please come forward, introduce yourself, tell us where you went to school and
Good
where you go to
evening.
school.
Good evening, council members. How are you guys doing today?
Good evening.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Dede Afon, and I go to Massey Hill Classical High School. I am the 10th grade and in the 71st district.
Good evening, everyone, commissioners, guests, and anyone else I didn't list. My name is Hezekiah Bryant. I go to Cumberland Polytechnic High School on the Fayetteville Technical Community College campus. I'm a 10th grader, and I'm very excited to be here. This is my first county commissioners meeting.
Very
And
excited to be
you have
here.
some friends
Oh.
with you. Can you just tell us their name? We won't make them get up here. Just tell us who
Not
they
a
are.
problem. So we have a few of our members today. We have Glory Washington. We also have Sierra Williams, and then we have Miranda, and then we also have extra members as well.
Welcome to all of you.
Yes. So-
Guys, when we get finished tonight, pay close attention. When we get finished tonight, we're going to ask you to kind of give us an overall view of just your impression of our meeting. Okay?
Not a
So,
problem.
Thank you so very much for being here tonight. This time we have recognition. Scannon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. As you know, there was a vacancy in the Executive Director position of the Mid-Carolina Council of Governments. That board went through a very thorough search process. That search process was led by one of our commissioners, Dr. Jeanette Council. She serves as the chair of the Mid-Carolina Board and very successfully led us through that process. So I'm pleased this evening to introduce the new executive director, Mr. Justin Hembry. And I'm going to ask Justin to come forward, tell you a little bit about himself and his vision for our new COG. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I really appreciate the invitation to join you all this evening. And I just want to express it was quite humbling and is certainly an honor to have been selected to serve you, Cumberland County, and also your colleagues and neighbors in Sampson and Harnett County. I'm just really glad to be here. I've been on the job, I think yesterday was 7 weeks. So I'm brand new to the area, brand new to this region, but I've been welcomed with open arms. This is a wonderful place, and I learned very quickly what makes this part of North Carolina so special, and it's the people. And I've been fortunate enough over the past 7 weeks to be able to get out, explore the region, thank goodness for GPS, and meet with a lot of the town managers, a lot of the other officials as I'm kind of getting acclimated and beginning to develop relationships. Just a little bit about me, my background. I am a native North Carolinian. I was born and raised in Mitchell County, up in the mountains, one of the Tennessee border counties. Spent an enlistment in the Army after high school, and then came back and went to college at App State and went through their local government training programs, and after that served in several places as town manager and then was county manager in Mitchell County, worked as assistant county manager in Henderson County. So I like to think that I understand what not only y'all deal with, but particularly the managers, and I think that's what hopefully will allow us as an organization to better serve our local governments in this region. Just very quickly, sort of the vision for Mid-Carolina in the future. And first, in saying this, I need to thank Dr. Council specifically, and Amy, your county manager, because they provided leadership throughout this process, not only through the recruitment process, but prior to that, defining what could be in terms of the regional council. So what my goal is, and I try to make it very concise, but my goal is to work with the Mid-Carolina team, work with y'all, our other member governments, the municipalities, the counties in these 3 areas, and build an organization that delivers top-notch services to the local governments in this region, that we become relevant to what y'all do on a day-to-day basis, and more importantly, you can point to the specific value of being a member of Mid-Carolina Council of Governments. And that's my goal. It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take some time, but I don't have any doubt, based on conversations I've had already, the time I've spent with the Board of Directors, the time with the 3 county managers, and the other visits I have, that this region, through cooperation and working together, we're going to reach that goal. And again, I want y'all to be able to clearly see the value in being a member of Mid-Carolina Council of Governments. And again, I really appreciate y'all giving me the opportunity to meet y'all tonight.
Justin, welcome. Anybody have any comments or questions for our new Mid-Carolina Council of Governments Executive Director?
Welcome.
Welcome, and thank you for coming by.
Am I going to have to stay after and report to y'all what I...
You might have to. We'll check with you in February. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
At this time, we have our public comment period, and before I do anything, do we have any speakers?
We do. We have 2 speakers this evening.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Cannon, will you explain the ground rules?
I certainly will. As you know, Commissioners, the public comment period is an opportunity for the Commissioners to hear the concerns of the citizens of our community. We've allotted 3 minutes per each speaker. We ask that each speaker give us their name and address as they approach the lectern. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I'll open the public comment period. Will you call you first?
Again, we have 2 speakers this evening. Our first speaker is Christopher Lehue.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Lehue. I live at 2787 Alderman Road. And the reason I'm here to speak is I'm speaking about DuPont, the contamination we have out in Grays Creek, Cedar Creek, and Hope Mills area. And it's continued growing. Right now, it's over 117 square miles. The county knew about this in the mid to early 80s. Early mid-80s, DEQ knew about it. Nothing was done about it. And since then, it's continued to be the same way. Nothing has been done. In the last 30 years, they've been polluting us through the air, the water, our soil, everything. We can't, 10 miles around the plant, all our produce is contaminated. FDA came in and tested it. Then you want to get to the consent order. During the consent order, we had no representation from Cumberland County. Y'all didn't fight for us. And because of that, that's why now the residents out in Cumberland County are not being treated the same. You have people getting whole home systems for 1 chemical. Then you got other people with multiple chemicals, up to 15, could be up to 200-300 parts per trillion. They're getting 3 sinks. Dermal exposure is a problem. People are getting cancer from this. They're getting skin cancer. My son's been drinking this water his entire life. And I call that a major problem because later on in life, he'll probably end up getting cancer. I had a lady contact me. In the last 2 years, she had 5 family members come down with cancer. 5. A couple of them has passed away already, and now both of her parents have cancer. And that's because nobody has fought for us. We need that. Y'all have been quiet the whole time. Y'all have not spoke out about this. You have not reassured us that you're going to do anything. You have not sued. And I still believe that you will not sue. All you got to do is sit down and read the consent order, and you will see in the consent order that we're not being treated fairly. It's not hard. We need support. Now, this Grays Creek board watering that y'all have, we need some representation from Cumberland County on it. From Grays Creek. We need people on that board. people that's going to look out for our best interests, because right now, no one has. We need y'all to pick some residents out in Grays Creek to help with this. I want to know that we're being told the truth and not being lied to. DEQ has lied to us. Kim Moore has lied to us. When Mike Waters get up here and speak, you'll find out. He's going to be in more detail. I'm here to represent the people. I'm here to fight. I'm going to be back in 2020, November. I'm waiting for it. Y'all going to see me on the election board. I'm running for office. And I got a lot of people coming with me. We expect y'all to fight for us. Y'all haven't fought for us. That's fine. We'll fight for ourselves. Thank you.
Our next and last speaker is Michael Waters.
Hello, I'm Michael Waters. I live at 6975 Point East Drive, directly across the street from Kim Moore's facility. I'm the one that gave you this, sitting in front of you. DEQ doesn't provide facts to you. When you go through and you look at the numbers, 2,800 wells tested. When you look west of the river, 70% of those wells are contaminated above groundwater standards. When you look east of the river, 78%. What you don't know, they aren't testing in compliance with the consent order. DEQ is not testing for 4 chemicals mandatory to test under the consent order. Kim Moore's is not testing for 2 chemicals. When you look at the DEQ sample, Scott Leahy sitting right here, he was tested by DEQ. The one sample that was at 77 parts per trillion is not tested by Kim Moore's. Had DEQ not tested, he would not be getting reverse osmosis. He'd be getting nothing. I applaud that you guys are trying to do something, 10.5 million. Amy, I appreciate what you're doing there. Now I'm trying to help you. How do you get Kim Moore's and DuPont to pay for this? That's what's important, okay? When you look at the 106, right now there's a corrective action plan out there. What you don't know, under the 106 portion of that policy, it requires all adjacent property owners to concur with that corrective action plan. In there, you will see that Kim Moore says it will be multi-billions to 10 billions to remediate our wells. And they don't intend to do it. It says it's not technologically or economically feasible. Isn't that the same thing they said about running water to us? It's not economically feasible, $75,000. Okay, you can't have it both ways. It's either a violation and they need to be forced. It means you are going to have to hire a lawyer to sue them. You're going to see roughly about 1,300 people coming in for the tax evaluation period. I'm getting all the data for them to show what practical quantitation limit. That's contamination by North Carolina law. Can you guys afford to lose $2.6 million in taxes? Because that's about what to happen. Because I have lawyers that are pro bono now, and I will take it to the state to make sure the people denied 15% reduction will get it this time, or more. Because when you actually look at the law, it actually states contamination is detection. Michael Scott lied to you, the county, when he said 140 is what's important. That's not what's important. You need to get the money from Kim Moore's and DuPont, and it means, yes, you're going to have to sue. Get a good representative. You know, I recommended Baron Budd. Get a good environmental law firm like Brunswick County, Cape Fear Public Utilities, and New Hanover County.
Thanks, sir.
If we ask him a question, can he speak longer?
Mr. Waters, I think we have a question for you. Can you step back up?
I'm sorry, ma'am. I'm very hard of hearing.
I was trying to think of a question so you could speak about 2 minutes more.
Okay.
About.
I'm trying to help you guys to give the policies and the laws that are pertinent that will help you in a lawsuit to win against them, because it's going to require that.
Is that legal? Can I do that?
If you got a question, go ahead.
I can't think of one intelligent enough. What else are you recommending for us to do?
Well, the biggest thing is looking at the 106 corrective action plan, you guys need to make a comment on this one. That it got extended until March, and I'll tell you right now, is John Zoska, it was Kirk DeVere, myself, the group out here that got that extended to March to give us time to dissect it. When you go through there, and it says in the 106 policy, and that's in 15 alpha NCAC .106. It's actually on the back page of your document I gave you. It actually dictates that they are supposed to look at running water as an option. The only option they give in that plan is reverse osmosis and GAC, and it's not fair. You look at the coal ash personnel, the General Assembly passed a law to force Duke to run at all 14 sites municipal water. That was the solution. Should have been the same solution, and they passed a law, 143, 215, 2 alpha. Secretary Reagan ignored that law, brushed off Cumberland County, you're not important. They never asked input from you guys. I know, because they never asked any residents out there when they negotiated that consent order. And not only did they take away the capability to provide relief through that law, they also took away the governor's capability to shut down the plant. So they crippled all of you. You know, you look at the 106 will give you the guidance of how to force them to run water, because we're 1,800 strong now. There's not one person out there that is going to sign acknowledgement and concurrence with that corrective action plan unless it's running water. It means there's going to be discussion between PWC, Chemours, but it's going to take a lawyer to force them to do it. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are starting to address this problem, and we believe that the only long-term solution will be potable water, public water. And
now, one of the questions Mr. Lancaster asked me, because we're looking at, you know, is deeper wells a better solution? Because that was one of the pros. I can answer that. 615 foot right next to Alderman School, 615 foot well, 4 years old, and it had 9 chemicals above paragraph 20. So you would have to go thousands of feet, which also requires a filtration system for bacteria and salt. It's called an artesian well. But so we do appreciate what you're doing.
well, our first phase will be the water to the elementary schools, and the lines will be sized large enough that they can be added on to, and we have engineers ready to study getting the trunk lines put in, and right now we need to know where to put the meter. It's going to make the county, it's going to put the county into the water.
One thing we do ask on that, you saw where PWC said that they would require backflush. In an open-looped system, you do not backflush. That was.
I'm not an engineer, so I
That's
can't argue with
why,
you one way or the other.
please talk to the Kaiser personnel, because what was put out was wrong.
We will rely on experts when all this is done, but it will take, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of money. So in the meantime,
Chemours and DuPont earn billions.
right.
Okay.
I understand. I understand. Thank you so much, and appreciate you guys coming out tonight. Any more speaking?
There are no further speakers.
Okay, we'll close the public comment period at this time and move into our business. Ms. Cannon.
Yes, sir. Under item number 1, approval of the agenda, we have a closed session, and I want to be more specific. We have a closed session for 2 items, one for economic development under 143, 318, 11A4. We also have an attorney-client under 143, 318, 11A3.
Economic Development and Attorney-Client, okay. Any other additions or approvals of the minute, of the agenda?
I move for approval of the agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion, all in favor? Mr. Evans, are you still with us?
Aye.
Is that an aye? Okay.
Yes.
Unanimous?
Yes.
Okay. Item 2, Ms. Cannon.
Item number 2 is your consent agenda.
Any changes to the consent agenda?
I move for approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Item number 3 are your public hearings. The first is an uncontested rezoning case, case P-1947.
Good evening, Commissioners. I have one uncontested case, as was just mentioned, for you this evening. This is case P-19-47. This is for a case that sits around in the Hope Mills area right off of 301 South. Just to give you a little bit of background, this case is going from R6A, which is a residential category, to a commercial designation. It's gone to the Planning Board, and staff recommends it. The Planning Board, by a unanimous vote, is also recommending it. We have nobody contested it. It's a rather small site, so I don't really have anything else to add unless you want me to open the case for discussion.
Okay, I'll just open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
There are no
I'll
speakers.
close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion from the board?
In case P-19-47, I move to approve the rezoning from R6A residential to CP planned commercial, and find this request consistent with the adopted Southwest Cumberland Land Use Plan of 2013, which calls for heavy commercial at this location. CP planned commercial is listed as an associated district with this designation, and further find that approval of the request is reasonable and in the public interest because the requested district is in harmony with surrounding existing land uses and zoning districts.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion? Mr. Evans? Commissioner Evans?
That is unanimous.
Our next case is item 3B. It's a contested rezoning case, case P-1943.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. P-1943, this case, as you can see by the larger locator map on your screen, is located in the northern Grays Creek area by the star that you see up on the screen. Going a little bit more into detail, the applicant and the owner is Vance U. Tyson, the agent's Annie Mae Efford. The request is to go from A1 agricultural to R40A residential. So essentially, it's just going from one residential designation to another for a little over 2 acres. Digging in a little bit deeper, you can see the subject site that's highlighted in the blue sort of polka dot or the dashed line that you see. This is a standalone parcel that has been legally recorded, but you can see here, if I may, if I can focus on the screen here, this is serviced by a Class C private street, which allows just basically a certain number of homes to be served off of a dirt road. The main road that you see here is Smith Road that runs in the east to west direction, and just off the map, which you'll see in other in some slides coming up, is that this road then will run into NC 87 to the east. So as you can see, pretty much all of this A's and R's and all these designations you see out here is pretty much a residential area. So when you look at the subject property and what's surrounding it, it's pretty much surrounded by single-wide and double-wide manufactured homes. On the site itself, you're also looking at that it's also served with a single-wide home on the site. It's kind of unique, these sites that you'll see in the photographs, is that they have single-wide homes that have been put together that will otherwise form a double-wide, but they're not really a double-wide. They're just 2 single-wides that have been put together for the purposes of expanding a home. But you can see pretty much what's around it. When you look at the soils and the utilities for the site, there are good soils out here. The site itself does sit on a site that does not have any identified hydric or hydric-type soils that you can see. The closest utilities that you'll see for the site are for NC Highway 87 out here. So this area pretty much is rural, manufactured homes, and pretty much everybody's on well and septic. At the planning board meeting, there was a lot of discussion about topo and septic. I think that was a large part of the overall conversation, but I just wanted to add this slide in here so you can get an idea of how the land lays. You can see that toward the back of the site, you can see the 2 homes here. The back of the site here sits at about 118. The road here is somewhere about, I would have to guess, probably about, I don't know, maybe 112 or so. So there's about a 5-foot drop from the back of the site to the front. But overall, it's a pretty level site, and you'll see that in the pictures here coming up here shortly. When we looked at the plan for this particular area, this plan, if you look strictly at the policies and the map, is not plan compliant, but it is, as far as the context of the area, staff felt that it was very much in the context for the area. So if you end up approving this tonight, Commissioners, this will be an automatic plan change to a lower density plan designation. So right now, the plan calls for 2.2 as a minimum. This is really 2 units per acre, so it'll go to a much less intense land use planning designation for the plan itself. If you have any questions on that, I can help elaborate. I can go on.
Any questions for Ross?
All right. So this is the subject property. This is standing on Montana Road, the dirt road I talked about just a minute ago. As you're staring at the home, you can see pretty much what it looks like. Now, what you don't see is the other home attached to it in the back. But it is 2 homes that are put together as one, and from a planning perspective, we would count that as one home. This is standing still across the street from Montana, but looking at the other half of the property where the future home where the applicant wants to go will be put. This is standing on Montana Road looking west, as you can see. You can see the planning van there. This is looking across the street, pretty much wooded across the street. And this is looking east going down Montana Road. NC 87 is way down here. But you can see the sign that we put out here as further evidence that we did post the site. So staff recommends approval of the R40A. When we took this to the planning board, again, there was a lot of dialogue, primarily just relating around the septic issue. But in the end, it was a split vote coming out of the planning board by 6-3 for a denial vote from them. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer what I can. And the applicant is here, I believe, to answer questions as well.
Any questions for Mr. Howard? Keith?
Yeah, Ross, can you tell us a little bit more in depth why there was a split in the planning board? What was the major discussion?
There were concerns, I think, when the opponents came, there was a discussion about where their septic and wells were in comparison to where the applicant's well and septics were. We actually had a representative from environmental health show up and sort of go over the records of what's out there for the site, and what we found out is from, I think from staff's perspective and from the 3 that voted for staff, was that as you go through the septic tank permitting process, the environmental health department will go out there, and if there are any errors or anything that needs to be found, they will make corrections to whatever perceived problems there are for septic out there. I think based off the discussion I heard at the planning board meeting, the 6 folks who went the other way still felt like they needed more information on where the septic was and so forth and so on. But the environmental health folks quite clearly said that if there are issues, they would take care of that as a separate process as they go through septic permitting.
Okay, if I can follow up, Mr. Chair. So basically, just to break it all down, there's a lot of people here. This parcel is zone A1, 1 house per acre.
Per 2 acres.
Per 2 acres. I'm sorry, per 2 acres. And what they're trying to do is R40, which is basically 1 house
per 1 acre.
Per 1 acre.
Yes, sir.
So they want to put another structure on there.
Correct.
Okay, this is what it's all coming down to, right?
Yes, sir.
And there was some discussion in the notes that I was looking about if a septic tank is utilizing is being used by 2 dwellings, it has different setbacks than it would be if it was just being used by 1. Is that right?
That's my understanding, yes, sir.
Okay. And we're not really sure where the septic tank is that right?
Yeah, the environmental health folks came out, and when they tried to pull records for all this, these are old homes that have been out there forever. Like, a lot of the records are really, really old. They didn't have any ready-made records to identify at that particular moment, so they would have, so the applicant, if you choose to be able to approve this, they'd have to go through the process of identifying where the septic is and going through the whole process again.
And my concern is this. We made the motion tonight, it's R40, it's R40. That's it, doesn't matter what the health department says, it's R40. Now, they may not be able to build, but right now we have some parcels on there, they're all blanketed all around A1, but all blanketed around R40. And if it comes down to it that you could put a number of houses on there, you're on a Class 3 road, and there's not a lot of access if they were to combine some of those places together, and it's dead right in the middle of A1. You know, every moment we come in here in rural areas, they're asking us, keep our areas rural, keep our areas rural. But I guess my only concern is that if it were approved at R40, it's done. It doesn't matter. If he decides to build, not to build, or whatever, it does change some of the complexity of the area. Then that's just my only concern.
He can build on the A1 if he want.
He is maxed out under his current entitlement of what he could
Right,
do.
he can't build anything else.
Right.
Mr. Howard, in my reading of the whole case, I tried to read into what the planning board was thinking, and it seemed like to me that they were thinking if this applicant had gone to the health department, made an application, the planning board would have had the information they needed and possibly would have gone with him on this. I just got that feeling because they, as Mr. Key pointed out, there was so much confusion about where the septic field was and, you know, where it would drain and so forth, and the health department would have cleared all that up if it had gone there. But is there a downside to the applicant going to the health department first?
Well, it's just like any kind of building or developing, Commissioner. I mean, there's always costs that are associated to go in, and what you're doing is you're paying for a maybe. So you go pay a few $100s. I think, you know, not trying to speak fully for the health department, but what was brought up was that they're not going to do anything until somebody comes and makes application. Well, that costs money. So if somebody goes out there and they pays the money and then they identify it and then they go and they get turned down, I think in the view, not speaking for the applicant, but in most cases what I see is a lot of people don't want to go there until they know they have the entitlement for the property to do so to begin with.
Yeah, so it's a chicken or egg thing for them.
Yes, sir.
But
Any other questions?
But if you
Mr.
make
Adams?
it, if we change it, and he does that, he gets denied. He's still in the same boat, except he just got R40. So it seems to me from this board would be to seek that first and then do the rezoning, because otherwise, once we rezone, we at the R40 regardless. So
Yeah, and that's not to say that if you rezone it, Commissioner, that if they decide to go through it, you know, like the health folks could say that you don't have enough for a septic, you can't put a home there anyway just because of whatever situation's in the ground.
either way.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Howard? Not, I'll open the public hearing, or any speakers?
We have 2 speakers this evening, one in favor and one in opposition. Our first speaker in favor is Annie Efford.
Pull that, yeah.
My name is Annie Efert at 2130 Montana Road, Hope Mills, North Carolina. I am here trying to get another home septic tank on my land. And the main thing was with Mr. Lowry, he was concerned about septic going on to his land and his pond. And my thing is, if you got a licensed plumber coming out there putting your septic tank down and it's hooked up right, how's it gonna go to his property? I'm just here trying to get a home on there. And I did bring pictures showing where to set the tank and all that stuff is.
Right.
Thank you, Ms. Efford.
Our second and last speaker is in opposition, and that's Robert, is it Downey or Lowry, sir? Downey? Thank you.
I'm Robert Downey. My address is 2096 Montana Road, right next adjacent to it. Some of the information that you've not been told, we've been here before to this meeting, and this was a dirt pit that they took all the dirt out, and right around the outer edges, they left about 25 or 30 feet, where at one point it's 15, 20 feet high. At my end, it's 5 feet high. Difference in elevation. And they want to put the septic tank along my property line where they got 20 feet. Just enough to put it down, and it drains out on my property. I've been here 30 years. I own mine. I pay my taxes. They don't own it. They're still buying it. They're agents for Vance Tyson, the one who's going to make money off of this if they leave. They're about the third or fourth people that tried to buy this property. It don't do nothing but hold water. Don't drain to the front like he tells you 5 feet out. It holds water. It's red clay. And back to this water situation, they were out there today. We're just outside that zone of where they're testing for this Gen X. They were out there today testing for Gen X. And they want to add another residency to this. I mean, everything out there is 2 acres. There's no, if you put that right in the middle of it, they're just gonna split it up. And if they don't make the payment, Vance Tyson is gonna make money off of it. And they don't even know if they can put a septic tank on there. The man from the health department that come up there told them, the only way they can use the one that's there now is if it makes it go out further than where it's at. And there's a well that's too close to it. So they're not gonna be able to do that. They're gonna have to put down a new one adjacent to my property. I mean, they had 30 days to get all this paperwork to have the people to know what they were gonna do. They put the hearing off. They showed up, nothing, just like it was when we left. So this is my 3rd time. Twice over there, 4th time. Twice over here. Last year it was denied both places. This year it got denied over there, and I hope you guys deny it too. I mean, everything's out there's 2 acres. Why you want to stick 2 1 acres right in the middle of all that? There's nothing within 100 acres like that. That's all.
Close the public hearing. Any further questions for Mr. Howard? Okay. What is your pleasure, Mr. Adams?
Mr. Chairman, in case P 19-43, I move to deny the rezoning from A1 agriculture to R40A residential and find the request is not consistent with the adopted South Central Land Use Plan of 2015, which calls for low-density residential at this location, and further finds that the denial of the rezoning is reasonable in the public interest because although the existing zoning is not also inconsistent with the low-density residential designation, possible runoff onto adjacent properties due to the sloping topography is better mitigated by larger lot size with less development and requests is not in harmony with the surrounding existing land uses of 1 dwelling unit per lot.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
That is unanimous.
Zoning is denied. Next item is Cannon.
Yes, sir. Our next item is our item of business. It is consideration of a professional services agreement with Mormon, Kaiser, and Reitzel for the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District Main Extension. At your last meeting where the board appropriated $10.5 million, we also identified 3 phases to the project. Phase 1 being extension of water to the 2 elementary schools. I'm going to ask our Engineering and Infrastructure Director, Mr. Brown, to come forth and present this item.
Thank you, Ms. Cannon. Good evening, Chairman, Board of Commissioners. The item we have before you is a consideration of professional services agreement with Mormon, Kaiser, and Reitzel for Grays Creek Water Sewer District Main Extension. As you may recall, back in February 2018, Board of Commissioners approved a professional services agreement for Mormon, Kaiser, and Reitzel to update the preliminary engineering report that was completed back in 2009 by another firm. And then also in January 6th of this year, the board approved setting aside $10.5 million to continue an exploration of extending public water to the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District in phases. So what we have before you tonight is the engineering services proposal for the extension of water for Phase 1. This will extend water to the 2 elementary schools coming down Highway 87 and going up Alderman Road to serve Alderman Road Elementary as well as Grays Creek Elementary School. The fee proposed by MKR is in the amount of $376,025. The engineering fee is in line with what we typically see with engineering projects, between 10 and 15%. So at this point in time, it is our recommendation that the board approve a professional services agreement with Mormon, Kaiser, and Wrightsville in the amount of $376,025. And I'll entertain any questions that the board may have at this time.
Any questions for our engineer? Mr. Keith?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion, we approve the professional services agreement with Mormon, Kaiser, and Wrightsville in the amount of $376,025.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there further discussion? If not, all in favor?
That is unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bell.
Item number 5, Mr. Chair, are your nominations.
Okay, do I hear nominations? We have one
Equalization.
vacancy for Equalization and Review Board. Mr. Adams.
Recommend Mark Knight to fill the unexpired term.
Mark Knight. Are there further nominations? Okay, nominations closed. I'm sorry, Mr. Keith?
Yes, Mr. George Turner.
I'm sorry.
George Turner.
George Turner. Okay. Further nominations? Okay, nominations are now closed. Okay, appointments, Mr. Vice Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, as to the Board of Health, there was one nomination, Dr. Sam Fleshman. I would move that we approve the Dr. Sam Fleshman for the Board of Health.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in discussion? All in favor? Okay, Mr. Vice Chairman.
And Mr. Chairman, the Equalization Review Board brings their slate of officers: Rodney Sherrill as chairman, Marva Lucas Moore as first vice chair, and Charles Granis as second vice chair. I would move to appoint the chairman, first vice chairman, and the second vice chairman.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. In discussion? All in favor? Mr. Evans? Charles?
Yes?
Okay.
Is that?
He said yes.
That's in favor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That is
Okay,
unanimous.
unanimous, okay. Okay, at this time, I'm going to recess the Board of Commissioners meeting and call to order the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District Governing Board meeting. First item of business, Ms. Cannon.
Yes, sir. The first item of business is to approve the minutes of the June 20th, 2016 Grays Creek Water and Sewer District Governing Board.
Okay, do I hear a
I
motion?
move we approve the minutes of the June 26th Grays Creek Water and Sewer District Governing Board.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Mr. Evans?
Yes.
Unanimous.
The next item for the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District is approval of the professional services agreement with Mormon, Kaiser, and Wrightsville that you just approved under the Board of Commissioners agenda.
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Okay. All right, now adjourn the Grays Creek Water and Sewer District, right?
And
Okay.
reconvene the Board of
And
Commissioners.
reconvene the Board of Commissioners meeting.
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
That's,
And that would leave us at item number 9, which is our closed session for economic development and attorney-client. But, Mr. Chair, you may want to recognize the students before we go into closed session.
thank you for reminding me. Can I have my FCYC constituents up here, please? Tell us a little bit about what you've seen tonight, good or bad.
Oh, it's amazing. Every time I do come here, I always learn something new, especially with rezoning. So today was the first time seeing something that had to do, oh, sorry. Today was the first time seeing something that had to do with plumbing. And then as well, it was quite interesting to hear about the issues that we do have in Grays Creek when it comes to our water problems. So I'm always excited to come here because I do learn something new. Thank you.
Hi, this was a very interesting meeting. I learned that there are a plethora of things going on in our community that we as youth should be informed about, especially with the rezoning and the main things going on in Grays Creek, because I have a lot of friends in Grays Creek, and I would want to tell them about this, so I'm glad that I got to come to this meeting. Thank you.
And thank you guys for having us today.
Thank you so very much for coming. Okay, is there a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion, all in favor?
That is unanimous.
Okay. Board of Commissioners will now go into closed session. Okay. Discussion, all in favor?
All in favor? So moved.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned. Second. All in favor? Meeting adjourned.